Hi, my name's Demara, and I'm going to be talking today about integrity and authenticity. They're both really interesting words and overused in a lot of different ways with people who don't understand them. But the other day, somebody was questioning me about this because they are words that I use a lot and probably more in my personal consultations with people to get them to see when they are in shadow and when they are in their true selves that relates to the higher being in them, the divine being, which has to be in authenticity and in integrity because it is the divine connection that we have. I'm just lighting this amazing smoke stick here. I don't even know what's bound in here, except that there are some rose petals. Just to clear the space here, I bought this off a Mexican market some time ago, and it is an amazing smell. It may have white sage, but it's always good to clear the space. I wonder if I can get it out as quick as I've lit it. Let's see, I have a bowl here that I made especially to keep sage in and then burn it in this handmade clay bowl that I made in my studio. Okay, so I think that's out now. Let's look at what the dictionary says because this is really interesting. It's very basic. But if you look at integrity, it says the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So that's interesting. I mean, the honest bit is clear, clean, and simple, isn't it? Because honesty is honesty. You can't actually muck around with that word, and you're either honest or you're not. If you're having a conversation, you're telling something, you're either telling it honestly or you're not. But the strong moral principles is an interesting one because one person's strong moral principles may go by certain churches, and we have this thing of some religions say cows are sacred. I think it's Indian religions, maybe Hinduism and things like that. And then others say that it isn't. It's the opposite, and it's a crazy thing. Some say you can't eat this, do that, and they're called moral principles. Like if you look at the Jewish religion of the, isn't it? I'm trying to think of the word. I'm thinking Anastasia, but I'm not sure that is it. I'm thinking that's American. Indians who there is the Anastasia there. I'm not sure I've got the right name. I think it's got a K in it, actually, the Jewish one. But they have some really strange traditions that they think are moral principles, and certainly against women. I was working as a rep, advertising rep for a newspaper in London before I became one of the managers there, and I used to hit the streets with a colleague who was from Golders Green, where I also lived, and it was all Jewish people, or majority Jewish people, and she was very strict, one of the very strict Jews, and she told me some of the really strange moral codes that they had, which were really strange. So I think integrity, the good thing to keep from that is the quality of being honest. Authentic is another interesting one when you look at the dictionary, because it's real or true. And I would say that, I mean, when this person asked me about the words, what I used was honest in the integrity, but also with the authentic was real. Real people who, when they put across who they are, it really is who they are. And that's what I'm used to because of the way I've led my life. And it isn't always easy because you're meeting different people all the time, not just your own tribes. So the authentic in the dictionary is real or true. We are what we say we are. And that's interesting. It's like comparing it to when somebody gets given this little glass object and they want authenticity of whether it's a diamond or glass. And it is either a diamond or it is either glass that can be shattered just by smacking it with a hammer, whereas a diamond would not. A diamond is very, very hard. So that's really interesting, isn't it? It's other words they give is worthy of acceptance or belief based on facts given. And this is how we go about our lives, isn't it? Where we're given facts, we're given appearances of who people are, and it's down to us to believe it or not. And in a lot of cases in our world right now, you can't believe what you're being shown by somebody as face value. And that's why it's really important to have activated who you really are, so that you have really strong intuition that tells you this is a load of rubbish. You know, this person's not telling the truth. So I thought I'd look them up first before I go on to, this is something I used to work with in workshops, and I was just shifting around a whole pile of paperwork that I had on a table, ready to do videos with all the work from my workshops. And this was one page that fluttered out, and I thought this is worth doing a video on just this. So if you're just driving your car now and you've just turned onto a YouTube video and it happens to be this one, you can play with yourself here by answering the questions as we go. And if you're sitting just wanting some inspiration, this is good stuff to be saying and asking yourself whilst you are working on bringing forward your real self and not your shadow self. When you're in the healing, the work of the healing of the shadow, which is your survival structure that you put up within yourself in order to survive whatever childhood and life that you were brought into in this world, which on a spiritual level is perfect, but we'll get into that later. I mean, on a physical, mental and emotional level, at the time, it doesn't seem perfect. I know when I was a child, I just felt that I was adopted, and I really wanted them to tell me that they weren't my real parents. And I went through that all the time, right up until I was about 13 or 14. I really felt that I'd landed in the wrong family. As I got older and started to work on myself and left the family behind, actually, I think it was probably in my early 30s that I started to look at things and learn about who I really was, and that actually my childhood and my beginnings made me stronger because of certain things that I went through. So it got me ready for counselling with other people and working with other people, because I really had to work hard on clearing my own shadow and working on myself to bring through who I really was. So I was ready then to work with other people, which is what I did for decades and still do in different ways now. But so this is an integrity list, and just, listen to the words of this and see what your answers are that come up. What do I need to clean up in my life to be whole? In relationships first, and this is first with self, with yourself. Am I being honest with myself? Loving myself and being my best friend? If you're sitting at a table with some paper, write your answer down or stop the video and go and get some, because this is really important questions to ask. And this is therapy for you. So everybody should ask themselves these questions at least once. And maybe you will write this down, play the video again in a month's time when you've done more work, and you'll be able to answer differently. So this can be the start of your online therapy with me. And I've worked with thousands of people across the world, and this is free. Don't miss the opportunity. So repeating that, am I being honest with myself, loving myself, being my best friend? The next one is social, in social situations. Am I truthful with my friends, straightforward and gossip free? So how are the answers to that one? You can keep them secret for now. We might have a live where we discuss in the chat with each other live, but we'll see how many people watch the video. This is another question to ask in the social area of your life. Can others confide in me with safety? That could be a simple yes or no on that one. The next one. Am I honest with my feelings and thoughts in the social settings? Do I respect others' rights and values? No one else needs to see your piece of paper with your answers, you know. You can file it away, get it out later, and in a month's time or a couple of weeks' time, if you're really heavily into working on yourself right now, you can check the answers again. The next one is health. Am I taking care of my body? What's the first answer that comes off the top of your head there? Because sometimes they're the real honest ones, you know, before you start fibbing to yourself. Because the biggest lies we tell and get out of integrity with is ourselves. Health, my mind and my emotions. You can treat these separately with your yes or no, or you can treat them together. Work. Am I honest with my customers? Work again. Am I honest with my employer and my employees? You can treat these separately or together. Work again. Am I contributing the best of my abilities? Work again. Am I in the right job for my talents? That's a really important question to get the right answer eventually to, because you'll be living the wrong life. You'll be living fate instead of destiny. Okay, so this is about, do you need to clean up your life as far as the environment is concerned? So this heading is the environment. Is my living space clean and tidy? Now you may be really good on that one and not so good on this one. Because one is to do with you and just you, and how you want to feel. And the other one is the world. So this is a big one. Am I respecting the world's resources and other life forms? And let me just say, if you're already fibbing or lying with your answers, then you're totally out of integrity with yourself and the world on all of this. Be honest with yourself as you do this. This is to help you, not me. I'm never going to see your answers. It's funny how this may trigger you. These questions may trigger you and how honest you are. So if you're getting triggered, be aware of that. And that somehow you're not even maybe able to write the truth down on a piece of paper that nobody's going to see. That means you're pretty far from integrity. But I hope there's not many doing that. You may just get one or two here that come up to show you where you need to do more work. The next one is financial. Am I keeping my agreements to honor my debts and effectively manage my finances? I think the first one there should be dealt separately. Am I keeping my agreements to honor my debts? If you put those two together, you can actually do a lot of fibbing. Am I effectively managing my finances? Personal growth, and this is not a huge one on personal growth. It's just, am I committed to expanding my personal resources and sharing this with others? I mean, it is huge, because I would say take this as a whole thing, because am I committed to expanding my personal resources is not really sometimes that's the one thing that takes people out of integrity on all the other things we've gone through here. So I think in this case, and it's now I look at this all these years later, this is decades later, because I was one of the way showers going out there like 35 years ago, running workshops on all of this sort of stuff, which now is coming up a lot. But when I did it, you were lucky if you had 8 to 10 people on your workshop, and these were the people who were then going to go out there and be way showers too. So we weren't the ones that brought in big money by doing this. We were the ones who woke up early and wanted to share, and we got to the other people who would then become way showers. And a lot of the people I worked with are now out there doing all sorts of things, and all sorts of therapists working in the personal development field, etc., etc. Am I committed to expanding my personal resources and sharing this with others? So we want that as a whole, because the first bit is like, well, that's not really a big part of personal growth, is just expanding your resources. Lots of people go onto that track actually, and just go out there to make more and more resources for themselves and make money, and they certainly don't share a fair percentage with anybody else or the world. Spiritual next, the next heading, and this is the last one. Am I acknowledging my divinity and the divinity of others? And don't change the words there if you happen to be somebody who's into a religious belief system, because we're talking about divinity, which is the divinity in us, not the divinity in the Pope and the chaplain and the priest that you think are bigger and better than you, because they're not. We all have a divinity, and that's where you lose your real power to awaken, when you start believing somebody else is the only way to the divine. Am I acknowledging my divinity and the divinity of others? And this is really interesting, because this is the whole list here is a good starter, so check this list regularly. Come back to this video and you can check whether your answers are different and whether you've actually gained some momentum in the area of waking yourself up in, say, the social area, where you're much more truthful with your friends and you're not hiding who you really are. There's a lot of people out there who really, when in secret, they're looking into all sorts of things on the personal development front and on what they would have called woo-woo years ago. You think of all those people that called us woo-woo because we had awakened and were looking at our own individuality, our own power, our own missions, and our own intuition that could work so powerfully. And we were called the witches and the woo-woo people. There are many people who now are awakening, but they're not awakening and being truthful with their friends. They're still lying to their friends about who they really are, which is really difficult for their mind, body, and spirit to be in any form of integration. Because if the words coming out of your mouth don't match what you feel inside, that's real conflict, and that's a real situation where you're going to get ill. Because illness, is disease. Dis-ease, a state of dis-ease. And anybody who comes to me with any illness at all on the physical side, as well, when I'm working with them on the mind, body, spirit, which is really my area, I will be able to say to them, okay, let's look at why you've got a problem with your lungs, say. If you've got a problem with your lungs are about how much you take in the oxygen and breathe properly, right? So if you're not taking in life to the full and you're not integrated in your integrity and you are going out there as one person and really inside you're another, and you're not breathing, so you're not being fully in your life, and you will have problems with your lungs. A lot of smokers smoke to hide who they are. Think next time you go to pick up a cigarette or a vape. Because what you're doing is you're inhibiting your lungs with something that shouldn't be there in order not to suddenly let out who you are. I found that out. I'm thinking whether I knew that already through the work I was doing. Probably I'd vaguely heard that, because all the lists of this is made up by us therapists, and it was Louise Hay who actually published the book. I was working day after day as a therapist at the time, and myself and other therapists had the same lists that Louise Hay had from her records, and she did this amazing little book which gave you all the reasons why people get certain areas in certain places in their body, and different types of states of dis-ease lead to different states of what we now have names for as diseases, which is all rather strange that people don't look at it like that. Dis-ease. So with the lung one, it was really interesting for me, because as I got right down to when I was smoking, I was already working with people, and I wanted to get rid of this habit. And what I did first was got rid of the chemicals in the bought packets of cigarettes by rolling my own. So I rolled my own, and then I started rolling my own with herbal tobacco, which smelled incredibly different to cigarettes actually, but it was all different herbs. And as I did that, I was weaning down the nicotine, and then I could see every time I went to get that cigarette, maybe it was half a dozen times a day then or something like that, and I knew that it was because I needed to stop being who I really was, because I felt like people wouldn't accept me full blown. Not full blown me with everything I knew, felt, understood and all the downloads I was getting. Who would want to know that person? And every time I went for a cigarette, I realized, because I put my attention on that, and that's a good way to stop smoking or vaping, is to start to ask yourself. You don't say to yourself, you're not allowed to have the next cigarette, because then you won't get the truth from your system, because this is the way we're built, okay? And your subconscious will block it. But what I used to say was, okay, you can have the next cigarette, but I want to know why. Why do you need it right now? And it was always that. So this is a really interesting one. So you can go through this list and change everything. And you can do it until you get a yes, 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 I am taking care of my body. I am honest with my employers as well as my employees as well as my customers. In fact, I'm in the perfect job for me. I know who I am. Think about coming out with that sheet. So you could actually write out all the questions. This would be a good idea. I can't send you, we just don't do things by snail mail anymore, do we? But what I would have been doing in the past is posting this out to people, this list, so that they could keep a copy and then run some more off on a photocopier and then come back. But you can do this by writing the answers each time that you play the video. But this is a way of actually coming into integrity and really understanding that you may be thinking you're really in integrity and there's nothing out of integrity about you. But if you've answered any of these questions with no, you're finding that you're not in total integrity. So maybe sometimes we just have to do that. Get to the answers, get to the yeses and nos, you know, because it can really, really help. And the only reason I'm doing this, I was in the middle of, I've had a great day today. I've been really accomplishing a lot of things that I really need to do. Like, you know, the things that you don't do. Like, I've put all my playlists as far as I can right now in order on the internet, things like that. And then I started to look at this pile and thought, God, there's loads of stuff in here I really want to put on videos. And this sort of popped out to me. It dropped out. So this is a really good list to keep by you. And bring it out once a week, every Friday night. Before you allow yourself to do anything else, go through your integrity list. It will really help you. It will really, really get you to see where you are right now. Because all of our personal development starts with the truth, the real truth of where we are right now. So, thank you for letting me into your space today. I'm hoping that you feel thankful for having seen that, or maybe some people are triggered and think, I really don't want to listen to that again. But anyway, please subscribe, because we would like to get this out to more people. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And anybody who needs to hear this sort of information. And please give me a like on the thumbs up. And thank you again.